Good evening, welcome back to the channel, Carrie's Classic Cars. So tonight we're going to start rebuilding the hubs on the Hillman Imp, doing the kingpins. So a long time ago I showed a video of me stripping them down, and I finally got around to get my finger out and getting them done with after playing around with my carburetors. So tonight I've just cleaned the hub up, or the kingpin carrier, and I've just got marked one kingpin which don't have a grease nipple hole in, or grease hole in the bush. So I've drilled one in, as you can see there. So I'm going to slide these into the carrier, which is over here. It's my carrier, and they actually, you'll just see inside there where the holes are, where the grease nipples are, and these bushes are pushed in. Obviously the hole lines up with the grease nipple, so that's number one important thing. We'll tap it in to get it going very slightly, and then we'll drive it in with the socket, or push it in with the socket. So we're going to just go and get on and do that straight away. Okay, so first of all we're going to push the bush in. So I've put the arm in the vise, trapped it in with the trap rod end, and I'll just give it a good old pull, make sure it's secure. Now we've got our bush, so what I'm going to do is going to line that up with the top, so I know where it's lined up with the kingpin grease nipple. And I'm just going to give it a slight tap, not too hard because I don't want to bend the end over, just enough to get it started. And that looks about square. Now what I've got is this little socket, and that sits on it just nice, like so. So we'll open the vise up, and the plan is just to drive that bush in using the socket. Hopefully, he says. This is where I'll have difficulties because I need 3 hands. So we put that on there like that. Just a little bit more. Right, just drop my arm down. Very difficult this on your own. Get my leg up. Just need to get it right. So I just got it nipped there. So fingers crossed. Oh, slipped off. Fingers crossed. It'll just pull it in just nice now. No, I need 3 hands really. Get my belly on the job. Yeah. Right. Just squaring itself up. We can see that it's going in now. It's just as easy as that. And slowly just push it in until we're about equal on each end. So oops, socket's dropped out. So we're in line there, so we just need to push it in a little bit more, and then that one is nearly home. And put the socket back on. Fingers crossed. It's a skew width, but it's not. There's a little bit more. What I'm going to do is take the grease nipple out with the spanner, or a socket if I've got one, and then that will let us know when we're lined up for the hole. That's the one on. I'll ratchet. These have been reconditioned before, so they're very clean, these stub axles, thank goodness. So I've got got a bit of welding wire somewhere. Let's just see if it goes in. So it's not quite lined up yet, so we need to push it in a little bit more. So I'll get the socket on, we'll turn it around a little bit. And, right, so the socket won't go any further because it's a bigger boss, so I need to put it on the other way. Just wind it in. There you go. And let's just put my welding wire up through the bottom. See if we're lined up. We're lined up there, so it's gone in. As you can see, it's gone right in. So I think we're thereabouts with the bush. And then the kingpin just slides in. It's a bit tight, but I might have to just ream that out slightly. It might go in that way, all right. get very tight. We'll, yeah, that'll be all right. Once I've got the, I can't get it out. Once I've got the misuse of tools again. Once I'll just take the file to the edge of it and smooth it around, a little bit of grease, and the job will be done. So we'll move ahead and put the one in the top now. Okay, so we've now pushed the other bush in, and you know this one was a little bit tight. I've just pushed it through a couple of times, and that's just a lovely snug fit straight through, nice and tight. So it will be a bit stiff, but obviously once it's got a bit of grease in, we'll be happy with that. So it goes in that way lovely, and it goes in this way lovely as well, as you can see. So happy with that. Like I say, it will be a bit stiff, but once it gets some grease in and a bit of movement on it, it'll be just lovely. And then that obviously goes through the centre of that, which I need to clean up. This is a bit dirty. You can see the rust coming out of it. And hear it squeaking. Yeah. See all the rust on the inside of that arm, so that just needs a bit of a wire brush off. I have this little wire brush here. So it's just nice because it just get it in as much as you can. Swirl it round, get rid of the crap off it, the excess old hardened grease. I'm just going to clean out with a bit of brake cleaner. And job's a good one. That'll slide in silky smooth now. Look, you see there's a bit of rust on it, but there's no play in that. So that is now ready for assembly. But I bought a kit and there's no rubber, there's no cotter pin, so I'm in a right pickle. So I need to have a word with the guy who bought it off and say, where's all the rest of the parts? Because he's done me over. Anyway, enough of that. We'll resume when I've got the rest of the bits. Okay, so I've now been to Bob Allen's and I've got my 2 cotter pins, my set of seals, and a spur bush for the other kingpin. Now, what I'm going to do, I've also got, these decambering washers, which I've had for a long time, so long because I had the other car. Now, as you impers will know, on the early cars, it used to be very positive camber. So basically, the wheels, exaggerated, were like that, pointing in. So what Roots did, in the wisdom, I believe, they made these decambering washers. So what they did, they shaved the bit off the bottom here, about 3mm, we'll use metric, and the washer sat on the top. When you slid it back into the suspension arm, it lifted the position of the hub up, which made it more level, not as positive. The problem I have on my vehicle, and probably most people who lower the cars, they go the opposite way. They go negative, and excessively negative sometimes. Obviously, the lower you go, you see these which are on air rides, the wheels splay out like so. And yes, it handles okay, but it tends to wear the tyres quite a lot on the inside. So I've got these washers, I'm going to use them the other way. So whereas mine is lying down like that, my plan is to take the top off this, same thickness as what that is, put the decambering washer on the bottom, which in theory will lift the wheels up. That's in theory. So we're going to give it a go when we do it. Now also within the kit, there's 6 washers. I've already put 3 on. A thick one, a thinner one, and a thinner one. And they go on the hub, and they take the up and down movement out of this thick section, because that's where your wheel swivels on. As you can see, it's a bit stiff, so we need to clean that. But that takes the play out of that to stop it moving up and down. So I've checked all this out, and I need 3 washers in each one. So what my plan is, I'm going to give that a quick clean where the cotter pin goes in, because I'm going to put a bit of copper grease on once I put them together. But as you'll see on the kingpin, it has a slot in, and that's where the cotter pin sits in, and that actually locks it to the centre section. So when when that goes in, you have to line it up, and that slides in. Probably won't go in because it's a bit grotty. I'm sure it's that way or that way. It goes in one way. With a flat on the top to line up with the slot in the kingpin, and that stops that holds that tight, so it allows the top and bottom bush section to swivel. Now what we've also got to do is make sure these grease nipples are clear. There's a little pin there, little hole in the little hole, and what happens when you put your grease in through your grease nipples, because there's only 2 points on Hillman Imps to grease, which is the front kingpins each side, 2 on each side. You push the grease in with the grease gun. Now I have a manual grease gun, but you can get an air operated grease gun, which are a lot better because they work off the pressure of your compressor, if you're fortunate enough to have a compressor. I have, but I don't have one, so I might invest in one, because I did borrow one and they're quite easy to use, and they tend to push the grease out. Because what tends to happen when they've not been greased for a long time, the grease goes hard inside where the grease nipple goes in, and you can't push any grease in. Therefore, you have a problem. So if you have the pneumatic one with the airline, it puts under a lot of pressure and it forces the old hard grease through. But what I would do, if you are struggling getting grease through your grease pins, is take your grease nipples off and buy some new ones for starters, and get a bit of welding wire or a pin, a knitting needle, thin one, and just clean the old hard grease out till you get in through the hole into the centre. That will help you at least get grease into your bush. And then what you have to do is wiggle, turn the arm like that if you can, because obviously grease will have a flex on it, which I'll demonstrate later. Wiggle it around, and then that allows the grease to go around the bush, and it should come out of the little hole at the side that's like a bleed hole. Now these aren't clear, and you only need a little gap for them. That bush wants knocking down on the top a bit further. It will then allow the grease to come out through the top cap, which are these cover caps. They're like a little domed cap, if you can see that. I don't know what the camera for. They actually go in the top, the kingpin afterwards, and you just put a chisel on them just to splay them out so they don't pop out, and that holds the grease in but stops the water and the muck going in from the road. So that's the last job you do. So the next job I'm going to do is just going to make sure that's clear, that hole. But it's not, because I can't blow through it. So I'm assuming the other one's the same. So I'm going to just get a little drill bit, if I've got one, or a wire, a welding wire. Oh, got one to hand here. Don't know whether this is big enough. We're just going to feed it through. Right. Oh yeah, that's just gone in. It's not going all the way through, but you can just see inside. Don't know if the camera can focus, but it's actually pushed the old grease out. So there is a pathway through. So I'll probably be able to blow through that now. No, still not. So I need to have another look at that. Maybe get something to make sure it goes all the way through. I might have to just push that bush down a midges knacker more with the same. And that one's the other one's just push the grease through slightly. If you can just see it. So let's just push them bushes in a little bit further before we go any further. Okay, so hope you can see this. So I've now pushed the bushes in very, very slightly. So I've got my welding wire, and hopefully you'll see as I push that through, the wire goes straight through into the, see that? So we know we've got a clear path. Same on the other one. So we know now when we pump grease in through the grease nipple holes, through the grease nipples, it'll go into the bush, it'll come out the side, so we know we've got grease, at least right around the cap. So that's the next stage. And then what I have done as well, I've also cleaned out the cotter pin hole. So here's a cotter pin, and I'm not sure, I don't think these are handy which way they go in, but it's got to go tight as it goes in because it's got a clamp, but it's gone in so far, which is nice. And then I'll just tap that through to bring the thread through and draw it through with a bolt. So what we're going to do next is put a little bit of grease, like I said earlier, on these surfaces. Make sure these bushes are fully on. Now I've just give it a bit of a sand over with some 80s grit because these have been hammer-righted in the past. So what I'm going to do is going to give them a quick coat of etch primer, and I'm going to paint them black because I like soft black for suspension. So I'll just put a bit of copper grease over that and a bit over that rubber there. I'll do the same on these surfaces. Probably a bit excessive, but it'll come off what we don't need, and then we'll have to wipe it off before we paint the grease. Just one thing to take note on this one, on the back of this, on one of the hubs, you'll notice you have a hole in, and you have this little clip. That's where your speedo drive goes in, and then the clip goes on with the screw, a little screw, and it holds it in position. Actually comes out the end of the hub, just there. So that's what that's always the passenger side one. Now I was thinking about this. I was going to be put new bearings in the hubs for this, but I've got the new bearings in the car at the moment, and I'm going to put these on the Imp. So it makes sense just to reuse the existing hubs because I know they're all right. Hub bearings and hubs, just give them a clean up on the outside. So got to make sure I put this on the right way. So I've got one that I've not took apart for reference. So if we look at the way the stub axle is, with as the same, we want the swinging arm to the top. Obviously it's the opposite hand because it's the opposite side. So swinging arm to the top. Now I've got to just try and squeeze these on over the rubbers, and once we get it started we'll be all right. But it's just getting it blooming started is a nightmare because you've got to go on almost equal. Now at the top we've only got a rubber at the top, but at the bottom we've got the washers, so it's a little bit tricky to say the least. See if they're falling off. So I think what we might have to do, rather than you watch me struggle, I think I might just come back in a minute on the camera. Actually, oh, not too bad that. That rubber's still on there, yeah. Just need to make sure that's lined up. Right, now, what I need to do is get a cloth to wipe my hands. Right, so now I can put the kingpin in. And what I've got to make sure is obviously this has a flat, which has got to line up with that hole, and it's got to go in that way as well, because I don't want, if I put it in that way, it won't line up. So you've got to make sure you put it in the right way. So I'll slide that in there. Now I might be better putting it in from the other way actually, for the simple reason I can't see the washers putting it in that way. But if I put it in this way, I can see the washers. Right, so there we go. I've just got to get my little screwdriver in. Just make sure all the washers are lined up, and then we'll give it a little tap. There we go. I'll just use the cotter pin just to... Right, so we're through there, and that swings beautifully, and no up and down movement. So all I've got to do now is make sure that the flat is lined up. Okay, I sussed it. Obviously when I swung this round, it turned the pin inside, therefore the flat was up the top. So I turned it round, put the pin in, and now it's holding. You can see it knocking a little bit, but once it drives it through, it will be fine. So just check on this one. So the way on this one, the way the head is through is the two grease nipples as the head of the cotter pin. So if we turn mine round, two grease nipples, the head of the cotter pin. So that's gone in there now. I just need to give it a little tap. Right, so what that's done now is brought the thread through the other side, as you can see there. So we have a new nut in a washer, 7/16 spanner size. We screw that on and we nip it up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an 11mm socket because metric is very slightly bigger. That's a 12mm, so that's no good. Than the AF. And with it being a 6-sided socket on a 6-sided nut, it grips it. Okay, if you have a 12-sided socket, sometimes you tend to just round off the edges because it's slightly bigger, but because you've only got 6-sided, we're okay. So pull that too. Not sure whether there should be a torque setting, but just pull it through till you feel it's tight enough and it won't go any further. The job's a good one. Now what I have done, I forgot to put some grease on it, but never mind. We won't be taking that out again in my lifetime, hopefully. So now that swings beautifully. As you can see, no up and down movement, only in the bench. So what I've got to do now is just wipe this excess bit of grease off, copper grease, because obviously once we do a bit of painting, the paint's not going to stick to the grease. So we're happy enough there. We've got the rubber all the way around, rubber all the way around there. That one looks okay. That looks like it's twisted a little bit, but not a lot I can do about that. It'll be what it'll be. So the next thing we've got to do is put these little dished cap ends in, and that basically just allows a little pocket at the top for the grease to go in, and you just tap them in like that. Maybe get a socket. So let's have a look at the size. That's a nice 15. That's a 15mm socket. I'll put on a little extension. Oh dear me. A little extension bar so I don't hit my fingers. I'll just give it a tap in at the end. It only goes so far because it's got a seat to fit on. Right, and then we'll turn that round and we'll do the same on the other side. And that, in theory, apart from painting, is a kingpin overhauled. Now if you've got a garage, you're fortunate enough to have a garage and a vice, this is something you could probably do at home. I would advise taking it out because it's so much easier than trying to do it on the car. Some cars need the kingpin bushes reaming, particularly if you have a Mini. I had a Mini and I did the swinging arms, and the bushes descend, you have to just ream them out, and you buy a reamer which you turn in, and it's like a long lathe, I suppose, by hand, and that just reams the bush out, so you've got your kingpin a nice fit. But these bushes, they just slide in and they're all reamed out the right size. You need a few basic hand tools, providing the cotter pin's not seized, which you might have to warm up with a blowtorch. Generally, they come apart quite easily and you can take them off, do them at your leisure and put them back on. What I've also bought off Hillman over here is a disc brake conversion. I've always been against disc brakes because of the brake dust. I don't like it on my wheels, but after putting one on the Singer Chamois Sport the other week, I thought, you know what, it's a good upgrade, so I'm going to bit the bullet, and I bought the brake kit off him for 13-inch wheels, so easy to fit when you've Brady flexes, although I've got Brady flexes on. So I will then sell my old hubs if anybody's interested. I've got 2 sets. I've got a powder coated set with new shoes and cylinders and braided hoses and copper pipes, which I took off the Singer Chamois Sport, with the drums, matching drums, and I've also got the ones off I will have off the red one, which are painted. They probably do with a bit of a refresh from painting, but they've all got new shoes and cylinders on. So it might be handy for one of you impers if you're interested. Make me a sensible offer and I'll put them in the post. That might be a bit heavy. It might be a bit costly unless you want to collect. But it's the whole kit, just bolt on, ready to go. So anyway, let's just tap these last one in. So what I'll do, get this on camera, just put a bit of a notch in the top on the hub. Somehow, trouble is it's hardened steel. I'll do. Put 4 in. Keens the end over. You see the 4 notches, just hold them in. I'll do the same on the other end. One, 2, 3, 4, all done. And that is all done. Now what we're going to do now is paint it. So I've got a bit of brake cleaner here. So I'll just give it a quick degrease. Just let it drop onto the floor as soon as that breaks off. And what we're going to do is mask up this stub, because we don't really want any paint going onto that, because that's where the seal sits for the hub and the bearing and everything. So we'll put a bit of masking tape around that and then we're ready for paint. Okay, so got my aerosol, etch primer, also got a mask. What we need to ensure when we are spraying is we're in a well ventilated area and you do have a mask on. Even though it's only an aerosol, it will get to your lungs and make you cough and splutter and probably make you poorly. So always make sure you've got a mask on. They're only 15 some quid, these from Screwfix. You can, this is February 2026, the date's up, so I've got another 12 months on it. It's just a double cartridge thing. The filter element in it there, which is probably, well, that's pretty heavily blocked. That's from when I was painting. You can see it all. I won't be able to breathe through that, so give that a blow off with my blowgun. But that just protects the inner filter. You can see that's like brand new. So it's just these outer filters. So it's important you do have a mask on, because you don't want to become ill, but they're block solid. Bit cleaning out, I can breathe through them. I've just blown through them. All the dust, I've covered myself in 2-pack paint dust. But there you go. So what we're going to do is hang this up on a bit of welding wire, which I've got here, and paint it. Now, I'm fortunate I can open the garage door. I'll stick it up here. I'll just line it up on the garage door rail while we spray it. Like so. Here it is. Got my washing line. What we've got to also ensure is that we have the door open. We've got the Fiesta here, so I should really cover that. Well, we'll leave the door open to let a bit of fresh air in. Because it's only an aerosol, we should be alright. So I'll just put my mask on. We'll just let that dry off and we're ready to go. While that's drying off, I'm going to do the other one. So I'm not going to video that because you've just seen what I've done, and it'll be exactly the same. So we'll catch up when we're putting the black on. Okay, so we've now got them both built up. One thing I did forget to do was trim off the bit of steel. So I've done that. What we need to do to put these decambering washers in, and measure them roughly there or thereabouts. The only thing I have noticed, the far one that's you see swinging, excuse me, is the hole's not quite centre. Must be a bad drilling by roots in the past, whereas the one closest to us is bang on, where the bolt goes through the wishbone, but don't think that's going to make much difference, but it'll be what it'll be. So I've got my black paint now. I've got this gloss black engine enamel, Simonize, so I thought I'd use that because I'll never use it again. I bought it for the Fiesta, but Andy kindly painted from Strigley kindly painted the engine for me, so when he did the bottom end, so I may as well use this. It's durable, hard wearing, and it's it's probably good. I've got to leave it for 20 minutes to 30 minutes between coats, depending on the temperature. So it's quite warm. So what that'll allow me to do is do the oil and filter on the Fiesta. So we'll just get the I'll just do these a dusting over. Okay, so we're now done, both repainted for a second coat, just letting them dry. So one of the subscribers, Scott, asked could we do something about grease points. Well, hopefully, Scott, this has covered the kingpin grease points. So I would recommend these are greased every 3 months with your grease gun. Make sure the grease comes out the little holes. You know you've got it all the way through the kingpin, and just turn the wheel when you're greasing it so it tries to distribute it all around the bushes and prevent excess wear. The only other areas that you used to grease, or sometimes you do, is the universal joints at the back. Now some of them have grease nipples on, some don't. I've had one with grease nipples on. Problem is you can't get your grease gun in once it's in position, so a bit pointless really. So I just took them off and left them without, but they come pre-greased. So the next bit he wants me to look at is gear linkage. So I will dig a gear linkage, I think I've got a spare one around, and we'll do a bit of a video on that, and something about seat runners, but I'm not sure. I need to maybe message him and see what he wants to do on seat runners, because there's only one type of runner, which is on the later car like mine, the Mark 2s or Mark 3s. The other ones just lift up the early seats and they don't lock down. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed what I've done, and it is quite easy if you're a home mechanic to do your kingpins. I must admit the second one was a bit of a bar stool to get out. It had to end up heating the stub axle centre section because it was just seized in, so I'm glad I did it. And the grease was rock hard. So I've got to clean the grease nipples up, put them back in, or put some new ones in if I've got some, and then jobs are good. Until next time, ta-ta for now.